All right, we're rolling. Hey, Anna, you're the first guest on these video series that we're going to do.
Okay.
Where we're going to have unscripted, unplanned conversations with interesting people.
Okay.
To talk about your life, your background, and what you're currently doing. What's inspirational stuff are you doing? What are the challenges you're facing? And unscripted. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Anna. I've been in Singapore since 8 years. And I came to Singapore. I actually came here because I was going to do my MBA at Insead, and I think I sort of underestimated how life-changing that was going to be for me. I was looking forward to it, but I was massively unprepared. And it's been fun ever since.
And how, what was the decision for you to come to Singapore?
Well, I knew a couple of people who had been to this business school, and I was looking into all sorts of business schools, and I just felt that the people who had been to the one in Singapore had a different vibe, they had a different sparkle in their eyes, and it was just intriguing for me. So it was pretty clear for me that I wanted to come to Singapore to go to Insead, to this school. I think little did I know that I'd still be here 8 years later.
Right, which is super, super interesting, because a lot of people sort of leave after they finish their business school, but you decided to stay. But actually, can you tell us a bit more about the Insead experience? Because I had never heard of Insead when I was in the States, and I don't think Insead is like a very well-known MBA school in the US.
In the US.
And so when I got exposed to Insead and the people who go to, I was blown away. It was like, this is an amazing school. It's so international. The caliber of people going to the schools they're just phenomenal. And also it seems like a really, really fun, well-networked school in the world. Tell us a bit about your experience there.
Yeah. So, of course I'm biased because it's my school and it was the best year of my life. It was just awesome. But I think, what makes, Insead is a top 5 school in the world. For a while we were number 1. Schools go up and down in the ranking. I think it doesn't matter too much. What sets it apart is that, first of all, it's called the Business School for the World. And it's very carefully crafted that the classes have no one nationality as a majority. So I think the biggest share of people from one country is about 80 students out of 500 that come from one country. So it's less than 20%. And so that means that truly, your class is full of like 20, 30 different nationalities in your section alone. And I think the whole school of us was like over 60, 70 different nationalities. and that was awesome, because in a way we were all outsiders and yet we were all in crowd, And there was such an incredible how do I say you learn so much about cultures, about not just in class but outside of class, how you deal with other people. I made friends around the world. Like, it doesn't matter where I fly. Now we don't fly anywhere, but I probably have a friend in that city or in that country for sure. And it's a dynamic that I have not seen anywhere else. And then that dynamic goes on for 10 months. Every single day. So I think it's a short program, but they fit in the same curriculum that you would fit into a 2-year program or a longer program. And what that does is that you're exhausted, you're very much, in a pressure cooker, seeing everybody every single day, long days, but that really enhances the bonding too. So in the spare moments that we would be off, we would fly off to places together, hang out, do like even our social life and our academic life would just all blend together in that sense.
And it's a really, really fun school, right?
It's pretty fun.
I mean,
had some good times.
I haven't experienced the level of good times, and it's.
Well, you came to our reunion.
Well, that's the thing. I came to the reunions. I went to a lot of the weddings of the alumni or the students, and it's just such a great global community of smart people who are very ambitious, but also work hard, play hard, flying around the world to go to different weddings. That's really, really amazing. Were you prepared for that intense 1 year, because you studied architecture, right?
I had no idea.
Right, but from an academic perspective, was it difficult, going from architecture to business school?
So I'd been a management consultant for 3 years, so I had quite a bit of a bridge, and I've done some smaller trainings to be more affluent in business language. But so I think curriculum-wise, it matches what people are capable of, and there's also a lot of diversity, right? You have your fixed classes, and then you can have your own electives, and some might be more into marketing, some might be more into like die-hard finance. So I think that's all fine. Also, different from a normal master's program, a lot of the MBAs, at least Insead, does not publish any grades. They only do the only thing that's been published is the people who are on the dean's list. And so I think after the first period, I messed up a couple of the exams, and dean list was out of sight, so I sort of gave up on that. And for the rest, it's basically just a fail or pass.
Right.
I think I know there's one person who's still trying from our year who's still trying to get to his pass. But
I think I know who that person is.
I don't think you do. But the reason is that aside from the whole academic curriculum, Insead, being the business school of the world, also has the requirement that at exit, at graduation, you need to have language certificates in 3 languages. And I think there's one of our classmates who's still trying to figure out his 3rd language. He needs to do a test for that, and once that's approved, that person will receive his diploma.
Right. Yeah. And you have a crazy story of how you physically came to Singapore.
Well, when I decided that I was going to go to Insead, and then I was doing a pretty intense consulting job. I was like, okay, maybe I take some time off and do a little bit of traveling. And then I started just writing down the countries that I was just intrigued about. And I started just, I was just daydreaming a little bit, and I looked at the map and I was like, oh, maybe they connect. And then accidentally I came on this website of this guy who's a fanatic about train journeys, and this website, I think, is called Seat 61. And I saw that there were so many cross-country but also intercontinental train journeys that you could do. And then I started saying, okay, what if I do this one? And then I can do this. And so it sort of ended up suddenly being this plan of 6 weeks going by train from Amsterdam to Singapore.
That's
and then
wild.
Once the plan was there, I was like, okay, I gotta do it.
Right. And you ended up coming to Woodlands.
Yeah.
But the train journey, it's not all train, right? You have, because there's some boats involved, or?
Oh yeah, so I went Amsterdam to Moscow, Moscow to Irkutsk, Irkutsk to Vladivostok. So the more popular route is to go through Mongolia. But I had this weird idea that I wanted to see how big Russia was. So I went all the way to Vladivostok. Then of course Vladivostok, it's the end, right? And aside from like North Korea, there is no other border where you can go. So then basically you take the boat from Vladivostok that goes to Japan. It stops in Korea, and then the next day it arrives in Japan. And I was like, this is cool because Japan was on my list. I'd been before. I wanted to just go again. And I took the boat from Japan to Shanghai, and then Shanghai trains all the way to Hong Kong, Guangzhou, then through Vietnam, and then from Ho Chi Minh City to get to Bangkok, you have to go through Cambodia. But in Cambodia, that time, I don't know how it is now, but there was no passenger train. There's some cargo train I think they were building. So we had to take the bus and some speedboats and this and that. And then from Bangkok, it's basically just south to it's south to Kuala Lumpur and then to Singapore. And it's funny because if I had done my trip 1 or 2 years earlier, I could have probably made it until central Singapore, but just 1 or 2 years before they had discontinued the line, so I literally ended up at some sort of back train station in northern Woodlands, where when I wanted to take like a photo of like, look guys, I made it after six weeks, I nearly got arrested because it was in this zone where you couldn't take photos, and I had to like really explain the whole story, and then they were like, okay, fine, but get out of here.
Right.
And that was it. So it was funny because the arrival in Singapore, I think, was a little bit of an anticlimax, but yeah, it was fine.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so you did this crazy trip.
Yeah.
Then you went to Insead.
Yeah.
And then what did you end up doing afterwards, after you graduated?
Yeah. So then I had an offer to return to consulting in Amsterdam, but I kind of felt I wasn't done. I wasn't done with Singapore. I didn't feel like coming back to Amsterdam. My personal life had changed quite a bit. And so I was like, you know what, maybe I find something here. And I graduated in July, traveled for 2-3 months, crazy stuff. I think Insead crazy stuff. I had a wedding in Tanzania. I went to New York for a couple of weeks. I just flew wherever planes would take me. And then through some people, I got in touch with a lady here who had a very senior position with Philips, Harjit. And she was like, you know what, why don't you come work for me for 6 months? And that was fun. So I worked for her, developed strategy for Philips for Asia, and learned a thing or two about putting management consulting work to practice. So yeah, I think that was that. Then half a year later, I was going to go back to Amsterdam to do some cool project. Had packed up my whole life here with the idea that I would come back, but maybe half a year later or something, and then only to find myself upon landing in Amsterdam, opening my email, seeing that investment had fallen through and my project was cancelled. So I was like, should I just take the plane back? But then I decided to, expedite my offer for returning to consulting. I spent 3 weeks working in Amsterdam, and I got so homesick to Singapore that on King's Day evening, I was on the plane back to here, and basically, came back of course for visits, but basically that was my move to here.
Yeah. But so Philips in Singapore is massive, right? This is the Asia headquarters, and there's Philips is probably one of the first companies, international companies to come to Singapore, right?
Yeah, they have a very long history here.
Right. So that must have been really, really fun working at Philips.
It's cool. It's cool. I think Philips is an awesome brand, awesome company, and I think I was extremely lucky having the mentorship of my boss,
right?
Who's still actually a mentor of mine.
Yeah, Harjit's cool.
Harjit's cool.
Yeah, she's
Harjit's cool.
Yeah, she's a power woman.
Yeah.
And so what's been your experience working in large corporations in Asia versus working in large corporations in Europe?
okay, this is a whole discussion in itself, but I think one of the reasons why I got so hooked on Asia is because I honestly believe this is the heartbeat of the world. Mm-hmm. This is where the pace is set. This is where speed is set. This is where we have positive, growth-oriented discussions, where we have innovation-oriented discussions, and I think at some point, and look, it's hard for me to say because I haven't worked in Europe for 8 years, and I've even in my consulting job after Philips, I've worked with clients across the world, and I've had exposure to people in the US and Europe, but I feel so happy, like mentally happy, because in Asia our eyes are like this. Mm-hmm. There's chances, there's opportunities, and whereas I felt when I left Europe, which was back in 2013 probably, even though the financial crisis was quite a while behind us, I still felt it was like closed-minded, difficult, like, I mean, even now sometimes when I go back to visit family, there's just I get easily depressed in Europe. And it's just about the stuff I read in the newspapers, it's the stuff I read in the magazines, it's the commercials I hear on the radio when I drive back in the dark winter nights. I'm not complaining, but I just feel that in Asia it's such an incredible hustle. Let's do it, let's try it, let's grow, and of course there might be differences in how corporates are operating, but that mentality is something that is really, really hard to just instill. And I think that for too long, people from other parts of the world have come to Asia to sort of say, okay, let me tell you how it's been done. And I think that's very embarrassing. I hope, I cannot rule out that I've ever been like that, but I hope I haven't been too much like that, because sincerely, from really deep inside of me, I've always said I came to Asia to learn. Right. And I came to and it's been so long now that I feel home here. I mean, of course I miss my family, but yeah, this is where I feel at home. Yeah.
Do you think Europe is going to, do you have a sense that Europe is still in this not future looking sort of situation, or do you think there's going to be progress made in Europe?
I think it wouldn't be fair of me to judge, because it's the same as being in Europe and talking about Asia. And I would come to Europe with the same mentality as Europeans would come to Asia.
Right.
I do have to say that I think things have picked up from what I've seen, but who am I to say? I have many friends who work in exciting startups. It's hard because there's legacy, there's history, there's there's things you have to deal with. Like we would do big transformations, and then companies would have invested billions of dollars in their IT systems, and they can't just stop it all and build something new. Right. Even though that would probably be the best solution, it's not always a feasible solution. So it's easy to judge on the outside and say, okay, look, they're very slow, they're very stubborn, they're very this, they're very that. I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, we'd probably have a great time living in Europe if it wouldn't be so cold and rainy.
Yeah. What are you working on now? So you're no longer in the big corporate world.
Yeah.
You're working on some exciting personal projects.
Yeah, secret stuff.
Some secret stuff, and you have sort of transitioned from being a working professional at a big company to now being on this entrepreneurial journey, where you're trying to figure out the different types of businesses and companies that you want to build. I'm curious, what's been your transition journey been like, both emotionally and I guess even like sort of physically?
Yeah.
And how has that been, like how are you coping with that transition?
Well, it's been 2 years since I had my last day working in like corporate as a management consulting. I mean, I officially left just a year and a half ago, but I mentally checked out around maternity leave. And I think the past 2 years have probably been the biggest personal growth that I had ever envisioned. It's for sure not been easy, because I think many times I don't know how you say this, but we say like you face yourself, right? So you really come to stand face to face with who you are. And I mean, it's everything from doubt, anxiety, ego, worthiness, confusion. There's like, I left a good job which paid more than the bills for the whole family, which allowed us, if we wanted to jump on a plane to wherever we wanted to, and not having to save even a month of salary to do that.
Right.
I would sometimes buy flight tickets for families just because I had the money, and I was like, okay, let's get people moving, let's connect people. I wasn't buying expensive stuff, but you know, once every so many months I walked into Zara and just didn't even look at the price tags and bought whatever I wanted. And then that stopped. And then insurance stopped, and then this whole safety net was gone, and I had to figure out how to build that for myself. And I think my lowest point, I mean, it sounds silly if I talk about it, but I had a real anxiety attack at some point, maybe like 6-7 months in, where I'd only seen my bank account go down, and I felt like I need to stop spending. And I was just somewhere, meeting someone or doing some errands or whatever, and I was so hungry, like so seriously hungry, because I'd skipped breakfast and it was lunch, and I was still breastfeeding, I think, and I just wanted to eat something. So I went into this mall and I went past all these food outlets, and I kept seeing all these prices, and I kept thinking, I can't afford this, and I just walked for half an hour and thinking, oh my God, $7 so expensive, oh my God, $10 so expensive, and I left not eating anything and literally having this big anxiety attack, thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna starve, you know. And now it's funny because I think it's been so good to leave a cushy job like that and really have at the end of the month to think about your money and can we afford this? And funny enough, the day after, my old employer sent me an email and said, by the way, here's your retirement savings that we're going to cash out to you. And so suddenly that bank account went bloop up. And I think that for me was sort of like the universe telling me, okay, you passed the first test. You had your anxiety breakdown. Don't worry, we got you.
Here's a little reward. Right.
Now be better with this money, right? And so, yeah, it's kind of funny because it's such a first world problem, but to me, it's such a transition that I had to come through to really, be more, I think, at ease with like living this life. And especially like, it's different if you're single, you just crash someone's couch, whatever, but we have a family. And you know, my whole family was leaning on my income. And then suddenly that income is gone. So yeah, I have had quite some anxiety around that. So I think that's the biggest change to really, now I'm good because now I feel stronger that, okay, I can live with the funds that I have, and I have a plan in my head and I'm better. I think the other change that I've had between corporate life and like entrepreneurship is, I think corporate life and linking it to business school is very much about, okay, this is, you know, you have a good degree, you have a good employer behind you, a good brand name. So when you enter the room, people have respect for you. And you know, whether that would be external at an event or whether that would be internal, we would have junior people or senior people. There would be some sort of hierarchy, even though we like to say we're non-hierarchical, but there would be a hierarchy based on the respect. Like, okay, this lady has worked here for 10 years, you know, like there was, in startup world, there's none of that. There's literally none of that. And that has been very confusing to me.
Right.
And I think now I'm better at it and dealing with it. But it's not just about like demanding your respect, but it's also very difficult to sort of assess where people are at, and therefore who are like, you know, your peers and who are the people that like are just like good marketeers but have pretty empty offerings. Like that confused me a lot, and that confused me in how to read people.
Right. So the personal growth that you mentioned, that in the last year or 2 years you've had tremendous personal growth because you've transitioned from, you know, a certain lifestyle to a new lifestyle. What are these personal growth qualities that you think you've gained, and like why? So you touched on, you know, like anxiety, uncertainty, which you know you have to deal with. So that's personal growth. But are there any specific sort of qualities that you think you've gained over the last 2 years?
Well, and I also became a mom.
Right.
And I and I was a wife of someone who had a crazy entrepreneurial journey himself. So I think one thing that I've really developed is patience.
Patience, yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
More than ever. I'm not saying I'm patient.
Right.
I'm more patient than I was before. I think I have, and I think linking to I'm more patient because I can be more, how do I say this? I can be more, I feel less that my whole life depends on certain things. And I think in certain corporates, more and more, there's such a rat race going on that you can totally blow out of proportions the importance of one certain meeting or one certain thing. And it can, and I think I was emotionally always very susceptible to that. So it hit me extra, and I got extra stressed out, and I also got extra in it, which made it hard to be patient. And I think now maybe it's because I became a mom, maybe because I've been seeing so many insane ups and downs that I'm like, okay, you know what? It'll all be okay. This is not gonna blow up, you know, this is not gonna blow up our future. One of my colleagues I wasn't even too close with, she left and she sent us a goodbye email like a while before I left. And she wrote the famous words, "Now I'm asking myself, will it matter 5 years from now?" And that's, ever since I read that, has been in the back of my mind. Whenever I have the chance to freak out, okay, is this really going to matter 5 years from now or not?
Right. So you sort of forego trivial things that maybe in the past you would take to heart, but now you think more long term.
Yeah, but they're not trivial. Like, trivial is a bit of a judgment, you know? Like, to many people, they're not trivial.
Right.
And it's not trivial in a sense. Like, trivial also suggests that you shouldn't take them serious.
Right.
I'm still taking them serious. I have better perspective.
Right. Right.
think?
That's I mean, from a personal growth perspective, these are amazing qualities that
What do you think I have changed?
I think you've definitely become more patient. I think you've become a lot more optimistic. I think you've become a lot more kind to people. As in, you understand the struggles of a lot of
Right.
entrepreneurs. So I think you have a bit more empathy and understanding because you're going through the same sort of journey, which is difficult. I think you have, as you said, you're looking at the bigger picture, and you are letting go of things that may not matter in the long run. And that's a huge deal, I think, for anyone, to like let go of things, right, and not hold on to things that are not going to affect you in 5 years from now.
Well, you used to be like that. I
Yeah.
used to be the one who freaked out. Now we're
Yeah.
sort of like changed positions.
Yes. So, do you want to share some of the projects you're working on? Because I know some are top secret.
Some are top secret.
But what can you share with us?
Some I'm gonna launch
Yeah.
later. Well, I think okay. So first of all, I think some things. Okay, what am I busy with, and how do I balance that? Because when I left corporate, I also left for the reason that I didn't opt out on a career. I was actually seeing this as leaning into a career on my own terms. And I think that's a very important thing to point out, because it's very easy to see when a woman leaves a good corporate job and she's up on the ladder getting there, and she leaves, that people think, oh, she's opting out, she just had a child, she's not going to do it. I left because I deeply disagree with how corporate careers work, and I just think we got it all wrong. And so I left to keep really pursuing success, but to cut out all of the things that didn't give me energy. And so that's why I wanted to start something for myself. And then it was hard because, and these are, I think, the lessons that I've learned. Like in the beginning, I just launched my own consulting business, and I said, in my offering, my website, I kept it vague, like, oh, we can do this, we can do that, we can do all these things. And I thought, okay, I just lean back and it comes. Well, I didn't. And I got some workshops, I got some stuff, but it was all so random that I felt that I wasn't building towards anything. Only during this pandemic, when my calendar freed up and I had real time to think, did it all fall into place. And for the past 3-4 months, I have been working really, really hard on this new idea, which I'm not going to share.
Top secret.
Top secret. But it's going to be launched in the coming months, and it's the feeling when everything falls into place and that purpose is really like so crystal clear, then you can put full throttle behind it.
Yeah.
But if you put full throttle behind it when your purpose isn't clear, you're just like splashing around mud, So I think that's one thing. Second is, in my position, what has of course been a dilemma is your business. Because I'm available, I have certain skills that are useful, but then I have my own ambition too. And it's hard because on the one hand you do something because you love the person, on the other hand you do something because he's already spending so much time on this for the future of our family. If my contribution makes it even better for potential success for the family, then I'm doing it for the family too, right? But every hour I spend in this business is an hour I cannot spend on my own business. And moreover, the activities that I might be good at contributing here might not be the activities that I feel most passionate about. It's a bit the same, like you might be very good in doing the dishes, but that doesn't mean you have to become a dishwasher. Right? And so, but then if your family needs a dishwasher, you better step up. And I think that has been some of the struggles and challenges in the past 2 years. And I'm not there yet because I still feel guilty. I feel guilty every hour I don't help out, because also I'm getting a bit of a salary here, and then I feel guilty every hour I don't help out with the business. But every hour I do help out, I feel this nagging voice in the back of my mind saying, you have this great idea and today you made no progress at all.
So this is an interesting topic, because there's a lot of couples, husband, wives, or boyfriend, girlfriend, family members who work together, and generally it's sort of...
Even my parents.
Even your parents. So, but generally it's sort of not looked upon well. People say it's always going to be difficult if you have family or people close to you working on a business. What's your take on that? Because my opinion is that it's actually a really good thing if you can have people close to you working on something, because you have that trust, you can have that accountability. What's been your experience, working with people close to you on businesses? Well, because your parents, I mean, they're a good example.
Okay, let me make I think there's a big difference between working together as a couple versus pulling your friends and family into the business. The latter I'm not a fan of. Unless you happen to have such incredible family and friends that are really exactly what you need. Of course, there could always be times but I just feel that you're putting something at risk that is not worth risking.
Right. So you're risking that relationship.
You're risking friendships, you're risking family relationships, and it's not worth it. Unless these are like exceptional.
Right. So it's rare. It's rare that these things work out well.
I think, it's all nice if people are performing, but if people are not performing, how are you going to deal with it?
Right.
You're not going to tell your best friend, like, look, dude, I thought you were great at marketing, but this sucks.
Yeah. But what about your parents?
Yeah, so my parents worked together, but none of my uncles or aunts or their friends would work in their business. And I think that's a really clear cut. I think couples who work together, that's interesting. And that potentially can work well, but you both need to really think about what am I doing this for?
Right. You have to be really aligned.
You have to be aligned. Right. And in our case, there's couples who have started a business together. That's not our case.
Right.
Some people always tell me, yeah, but it's your business too. And I always say, no, this is Vikram's business. And that helps me because when there are decisions made that I disagree with, it's easier for me to let go, and I think that has kept our balance. I'm really picking my battle, and I'm leaving you to, take the final call. And sometimes I'm secretly thinking, let's see if he learns the lesson.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes I learn my lesson. But I like that in our case, it is always clear that this is your business and your passion. And I think with that in mind, it's clearer for me that I'm doing this, because if I'm now telling everybody, no, this is also my business and my passion, then my real passion is nagging in the back of my mind saying, wait, hold on, are you sure? Because you're not getting fulfilled on this and that and that. And now I know, okay, no, that's okay, because I'm doing this to help my husband.
Right.
And I think that, I don't know, I don't know what you think, but I think we found a way where we can, respectfully fight and respectfully work together. But I think that me at some point leaving it on your plate also helps find that balance and pushes you to be a leader.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so we have a question from Sia.
Question from the audience.
Yeah, question from the audience. So Sia wanted to ask, what inspires you, and what and when is inspiration coming to Anna?
What inspires me, and how does inspiration come to me?
Yeah.
Wow, $1 billion question.
Is that right, Sia? That's the question, right? Yeah.
I don't know. You know, okay, I like Sia, so I'm not gonna piss on her, but it's a bit of a question that is really hard to answer.
It is a hard question.
Because
but it can have a simple answer.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a simple answer like, oh, I read books, I watch TED Talks, I listen to podcasts. But really, does that really inspire you?
Yes, that's why the question is to you.
I know, but like, do you really believe people when they say, oh, I love to listen to this podcast?
Yeah, if they're being sincere, if they're being sincere, that is an inspiration point. I'm inspired by listening to podcasts. Like I'm inspired by listening to other people's stories, listening to their journeys, their struggles. Inspires me.
But then, what does inspiration mean? When you say that inspires me,
so you're turning this question around to me?
No, but I mean,
that's not fair. Okay, well, I can answer it.
I didn't mean to be unfair. I just sincerely want to know. Okay, if that is what inspires you, then what does that do to you? Mm-hmm. Do you listen to a podcast and you come and suddenly you change your work?
Yeah. I think inspiration comes in many different forms. So inspiration means
that like information or some stories come to me and they change what I'm doing.
Yes.
In a small or bigger level. That's inspiration.
Yeah, it could be, or it could just, it may not drive you to an action, but it could emotionally, put you in a nice state of mind, right? That's inspiration. It doesn't have to be action-oriented things. But for me, I think inspiration comes in big things where it drives you to change, to take action, or it drives you to be a bit more, say, loving to people, or being a bit more positive.
Oh.
Yeah.
What podcast is that? I'm joking.
So actually, I love listening to the what's that podcast by Guy Raz? How I Built This. It's just stories of like other entrepreneurs who talk about their journeys. And
I love listening to you telling me what podcasts you listen to. I never listen to podcasts.
Yeah, you're not a podcast person.
Well, I don't mind, but I just feel I'm also not a video person.
Right.
Because I have to sit back and go at the timing of the person sending it to me.
Right.
Whereas I want to like scroll through it, I want to skim through it.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't have time. I don't have a natural podcast moment in my life that I'm going, every day I go for a run. No, I don't have that.
Okay. So you're not going to answer the question.
No, I am.
What inspires you, and how does inspiration come to you? It's okay. We can come back to it.
No, why are you not giving me this opportunity?
You've had 10 minutes to answer this, and you've been sort of throwing it on my plate.
I'm not. I'm sincerely asking because to me, I honestly have never thought about what inspires me. And I think that maybe not you, but I think too easily we get into these like buzzwords of saying, this is so cool, that's so, and I wonder but has that really changed something that you did? Or was it just like a small sugar rush for the day that kept you going?
Right. So it sounds like your definition of inspiration is a lot more deep and a lot more potentially something that drives you to a change. Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, this is to you specifically, so I don't think there's a right or wrong. But for you, it sounds like inspiration has to be something dramatic and big.
I don't know. I sometimes,
and that's a good answer.
I sometimes think that there's all these things that you're exposed to that suddenly fall into place.
Right.
And I haven't figured out how that process works.
Right.
I've only learned to trust that it's gonna happen, which is already a big step. And I think that's how I got to my new secret thing that I'm going to launch soon.
Okay, all right. Hey, do you want to talk about the mompreneurs thing, or that's top secret?
No, that's not top secret.
Okay. Tell us about mompreneurs and the community you're building, and how did that come about?
Well, okay, I don't want to take too much credit for this, because this is one of these things that really just came about. As I am, juggling, being a wife, being a mom, expecting the next one, building a business, being an employee, I felt that there are days where it's so overwhelming that I just want to stay in bed. And I also felt that if you have something great that you're working on for yourself, but you have to juggle all these other things, that there are many days where at the end of the day you feel, oh, I haven't come any step closer to my goal. And so then I was thinking maybe it would be nice to have some sort of group of other people like me and just, have a bit of accountability towards each other for getting progress. So that I'm not doing it for myself, but I'm doing it because I don't want to look like a fool when all other women have done it. So I launched, I just shared a post in this mommy's Facebook group, hoping to get 5 or 10 moms who are also
accountability buddies.
Yeah,
right.
Who also had their own entrepreneurship journey. And 24 hours later, there were 173
That's incredible.
sign-ups.
That's incredible. I mean, wow. I mean, it's there's this massive pent-up sort of desire to be part of a certain type of community, right?
Yeah, so that ran a little bit out of hand.
In a good way. In a good way.
In a good way.
But
yeah.
that's for me, I think it's very interesting because, as you know, we're friends with George, who's always been telling me about micro communities. Because generally, when we're in the community building business, right?
Yeah.
We want to build a global community. But George has always been saying, hey, it's micro communities which are, very, very important. And so something like what you're doing seems like a very good definition of a micro community of people who are potentially in the same sort of life journey together, right?
Yeah.
Of being moms and also then being entrepreneurs.
George, it took us 6 months to finally understand.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the plan with this mompreneurs group, or you're just taking it day by day and?
Well, it sort of surprised me, but I'm feeling responsible, and I'm feeling responsible for, helping them, and not oh, I'm your savior, but
right.
I'm your buddy.
Yeah.
And so I feel responsible in the sense that I don't want to screw this up. So now I'm busy, helping everyone else
right.
achieve their goals, which is great, but it's not helping me in my own journey, right? Like last week I just set up, so there was about half of them who wanted to join an accountability group. So I went through all the profiles and everything, and I made 11 groups that seem to be working in similar sectors, similar products, similar stage of the companies, and I got them all off started. But it's kind of the marathon group went running, and I'm like, bye guys. I will be at the first water stop.
Yeah.
Whereas actually the plan was that I would be running, you know?
Right.
So, and I don't know if I'm bothered by that. I might actually be more happy in this position.
So essentially right now it's a Facebook group, and then there's a lot of connections happening, but you want to sort of take that and build something out of that in terms of doing events.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, rather than build, I think I would choose the word foster.
That's good.
Because
I like that.
I don't want this masculine build, grow, sell, blah, blah,
Yeah.
It's no, this is a group where we foster connection and support, and whatever works, we go on that, and if it doesn't work, then we move to other things. Of course, once, regulation allows, it would be nice to meet up, Like there's tons of moms who have all these sorts of physical products they're offering, like anything from jewelry and baby products to cakes to other things. Like it would be awesome to do an outside event, a marketplace, anything, right? There's so many things, but I kind of like that I don't have a vision, that I don't have a plan, that I don't have a push, because I think with this community, I just wanna fuel it and feed it, and then see where it wants to go.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, this sort of like fell on your plate anyways. It wasn't something you were seeking, right? It sort of happened on its own.
I don't see it as mine either.
Right.
I don't see it as mine. I think if you read Big Magic from Liz Gilbert, she very much explains how an idea just finds you as the safekeeper for this idea. We spoke about this.
I feel the same way. I feel that the mission that I'm on to sort of build this Draper Startup House business and this community globally, it's something that is, it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to people who are trying to fulfill the dreams, and I'm sort of just the person that is going to help foster that.
The
globally.
idea embodies through you,
right? But
we should be humble enough not to say the idea is us.
And no, that's I hope you build, or at least foster, this Mompreneurs group, because I think there's clearly a lot of value creation. It's there's
value creation is such a buzzword.
You don't like that word?
Like, what do you mean with there's clearly value creation?
Value is being created.
Yeah, in what way? Like, what are you really trying to say?
Well, okay, I think you bringing these people together has created a sense of community, a sense,
so now
right? Well, that's value creation.
Yeah, but like the word value
Come on,
creation.
you don't like the word value creation.
No, I just think people hide behind buzzwords and conceptual words that are not clear enough.
Okay, how would you call it?
Well, you're saying this group has really been helpful to some people.
Okay,
hopefully,
so
right?
You're helping people.
God. I don't know. I don't know. I'm done with the buzzwords in this world.
All right, let's not use the buzzword value creation.
You have taught me this. You have always joked about me using buzzwords.
That's true, but I don't think value creation is a buzzword.
I think it is.
Fine.
And you know why? Because when you say value creation, we assume the other person understands, but we can be more specific. And more specific gives better information. Because
I like
if we
that.
just
I
talk
think
about value,
that makes sense.
Oh yeah, we're creating value with this business. No, but let's be honest. How are we creating value?
Right. So be very specific in the help that you're providing. So for instance, let's say Draper Startup House Ventures, we're helping people raise money for their businesses, right?
And so these businesses can succeed. We're helping investors make their life easier because we're matching them and we give them curated selections that we think work with them. So we make their life, we're solving problems for them. We're solving problems for startups. And if all goes well, we take a little bit of fee from that, meaning that we can continue to pay our ventures team to keep doing more of that.
Right.
That is probably value creation, but if you say, oh, we're doing value creation, then it's...
Point taken. Don't use buzzwords. Okay, got it. In Singapore, so specifically in the city that we live in, who have been some of the people that you kind of, I wouldn't say role model, but people that you kind of look up to in terms of, getting inspiration for whatever it is that you're doing? I'll tell you who inspire me. So our friends Dustin and Iris, I think we kind of are following their footsteps in a way, right?
We're copying you.
Yeah. If you're listening to this, Dustin and Iris, we're just copying you.
You made it this far into the chit chat.
Yeah.
We love you.
Any other people that?
Why do you say in Singapore?
Okay, well, I guess it could be anywhere.
I think you.
Yeah, me?
Yeah.
Well, you can't. That's not fair. Not like other people.
No, but I want to tell this story.
What story?
Because I do think that when I met you, I did not see any other career for myself than just corporate.
Right.
Coming from an entrepreneur's family, I guess I was biased by the negative stuff, like the struggles, the uncertainty, and all that sort of stuff. So much that I felt really comfortable having just a corporate job. And I think that, you know, being on your side, like as like an observer of your life and your career, and seeing the interactions you've had and the people you met and the things you've done, that has really opened my eyes.
That's nice to hear.
No, don't get your ego going.
I'm not. I'm saying
But-
that's nice to hear.
And you know, I think every day there are things that I learned from you in this journey, because let's face it, this has been a really tough year. There's been incredible struggles, and you know, I think it's nice that I find this. I mean, okay, role model is a bit too much, but like, you know, that I find someone so close to me that it's a bit like you go to Disneyland and I'm like virtual reality next to you. You know, I don't get all of it, but I get a lot of it.
Right.
And I think that has been a big privilege, because I've learned a lot from that I then apply in my own business. Things that I thought worked well, and things that I thought, I don't want to make the same mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's for sure one. And then, I mean, there's a bunch of hustlers, a bunch of moms, a bunch of women, former colleagues, friends that are just going about their thing.
Yeah. But it's
mentors, yeah.
I think it's very interesting that you and I, like, we come from very, very small places, right? Like, you come from a tiny village, I come from a tiny village, and we're now living in this crazy,
Metropolis.
awesome, probably the most, you know, urban city in the world, and we're attempting to build things larger than ourselves, right? I mean, I never thought we would be in doing this together.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome.
I guess. No.
Most
Yes.
days,
No,
it's
no,
awesome.
I'm kidding.
All
No,
right.
It's incredible. I mean, we could have, like, how could you ever predicted life to take us to where we are now?
Yeah.
And that in itself is the biggest lesson I have learned in life. Because if life has made my life so much better than I could have ever predicted, then why would I so hard try to hold on to things in life, thinking that it fits the plan that I have envisioned?
Right.
Because you know what, maybe if I let go, my life is going to be 20 times better than that plan that I've envisioned. And this, I think, is my message to whoever wants a message. You know, like, the thing is, like, just let go. Let go, because you have to. I'm not against leaning in, but leaning back is as important, because when you let go, you really allow life to happen to you, you might get so much more than you could have ever thought up, than you could have ever dreamed up. Like, I didn't have, you know, I would have never comprehended or thought of a life in Singapore like I'm living it now. 8 years ago, when I arrived here by train, I didn't think I was going to meet some crazy American Indian ex-banker being entrepreneur and whatever, you know? And somehow you ended up in my life, or I ended up in your life. And look where we are now. But if I had hold on so strongly to no, my plan is I have to go back to the Netherlands, I have to do this, I have to stay in corporate, I have to say this and this and this, then I would not have had that 10x version of my own dreams. So I think the bias is that we think we know what we should be dreaming.
Yeah. So just being very open-minded, having some sort of a direction of things you want to achieve in life, but not being so stuck to a certain path or a certain way of doing it, which is, it's something that I am trying to learn now, because with what we're trying to do, I mean, it's a terrible, terrible situation that we're in, right? But I'm definitely very much, like, I love our mission. I think our mission is something that's larger than life, and there's many, many ways to achieve that mission, right?
Yeah.
This format that we are now doing, which is like physical spaces, these converting backpacker hostels to, startup houses, it's one way of doing it, and I think it's a great way of doing it. But given the current situation in the world, it may not be the only way to do it, and
it probably is not.
Probably not. But this is what I'm trying. This is what I learned from you, which is I should not be so hold on to this, right? I should be open to new ideas coming in and new ways of doing this, right?
Because what are the chances that you would have gotten this right the first time?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying to change your mission. I'm just saying that what if you start thinking today that everything is exactly how it's supposed to be? Exactly how it's supposed to be.
Exactly how it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Like that? Exactly?
Like that. All the hostels empty, no travel coming up. What if all of that was exactly how it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
And I think this comes down to, I'm very open-minded. Some people are religious, some people believe in God and other gods, and they have all these different belief systems and religions. Some people are spiritual. But I think there's one common thread across all these belief systems, that is that there is a bigger plan. And look, we'll never get the proof whether or not there was a bigger plan. But long time ago, when I was a depressed teenager thinking life is leading to nothing, I just took on the belief thinking there is a bigger plan, because you know what? It makes life more fun.
Yeah.
And so that is a choice. You have to decide and choose. Life has a plan, and everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. Whether God decided this, the universe, Allah, Buddha, whoever, right? But once you are there, then that gives a lot of trust and faith. Thinking, okay, I have this mission, 1 million entrepreneurs. Now let me, what are the messages that are actually subtly coming to me?
Right. So on that note, that's a very positive note to, how long has it been? It's been, oh my God, it's been an hour. Hey, what do you think of this format? Do you like this? I mean, this is the first one we're doing, so it's only going to get better and better.
But what does my opinion
I'm
matter?
Curious. I like this very informal format.
I mean, let's see if we get 1 million views.
Well, we probably will get 3 views. It'll be Sia, me, and you.
And my mom.
And your mom. Yeah. But I actually really like doing this, even if there's no views. It's nice to just casually talk to someone and sort of share.
Finally, let me finish my sentences.
Wait, do I talk over you?
No, not
I don't, right?
No.
Oh. Do I? But normally, do I?
Let's discuss that at home.
I never do that, do I?
I'm speaking,
well,
Mr. Vice President.
Oh, yeah. That should be a nice meme. Okay, so you like this format?
I love talking to you, but hey, this is also, you're my husband, and I get finally 1 hour that I'm really being listened to, so this is nice.
That's nice. How should we end this?
How should we end this?
Should we, well, okay, how about this? We end, let me ask you one final question. Maybe a message to, what would you tell your 18-year-old self if you went back in time?
Oh. You know, I was gonna piss on you for saying, oh, I'm gonna ask one question, and I'm like, oh, that's such a
Is that even a term? Piss on you? What does that mean?
I don't know, just like make fun of you, but like that.
Okay.
That's
Is that a British saying? Sounds British. It's definitely not Dutch.
Yeah? Do you want? Should we go off track or on track?
On track. On track. Let's get back.
But actually, I think that is a good question. I think I would tell my 17 or 18-year-old self that
Drum roll.
trying to find the right words, that what you are longing for and what you are searching for and what you are sort of dreaming up is intuition, and it's going to happen.
Explain. Intuition. That was not something I was expecting. What do you mean by that?
Well, when I was, and that's why I'm saying 17. I know you said 18, but I'm gonna move
That's
it
fine.
to like 17 was my final year in high school, and I was living in this small village, and I was like, it was the rise of the internet.
The rise, yeah.
Where you could download MP3s, and it took 3 days to download. But you know, we started to get connected.
Right.
And I felt so. I remember just thinking I felt so detached from what I call the center of the world, which sounds weird, but like where it was all happening. And I felt I had this feeling that I couldn't pinpoint or couldn't really name. That I felt, okay, I need to be there. And I think that the ways I tried to give it shape were not the right ones. But that longing and that feeling was where I am now.
Right.
Because if that 18-year-old self had known that what the next 20 years, goodness gracious, would have looked like, that would have been exactly what that feeling was sort of.
So you had an intuition when you were 17 that this life that you're currently living and this amazing life that you've had was something that was going to happen. It was like an intuition deep inside.
So I would tell the 17-year-old that it was going to happen. Back then I had a doubt.
Right.
Thinking, I was confused, why was it not happening?
Right.
And I think that I should have shifted that into it's going to happen.
Gotcha.
Like
right.
for instance, I always dreamed of being a pilot, and then I didn't make it through the test. But then I ended up doing 500 flights in 5 years, and I sort of lived that pilot life.
Right.
And I think that what I had been longing for is just to be up in the air and travel and be in different countries. And with my small frame of knowledge, I had translated that in, okay, so I become a pilot.
Right.
Because the whole idea of a management consultant was not known in the village where I lived. Now I think I would tell myself, look, that longing, that feeling, whatever is being in the center of the world, having a life that's 24/7, flying places and all that, it's gonna happen.
Right. That's
Don't try
fantastic.
to force your own shape on it.
Right.
It's gonna happen in that ever shape.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. See you tomorrow? Oh no, weekend. See you Monday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm working every
Yeah, all right.
Same here.
All right. That's a very good message to your 17-year-old self. Change the narrative in your head that whatever it is that you're longing for will happen.
Yeah.
In some shape or form. It may not be exactly the way you envision it, but you will live that experience in some shape or form.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Hey,
Thank you.
we made our first video. Many more to come.
Good talking to you.
Good talking to you. Okay, let's put an end to this.